Welcome to the Miracles and Grace podcast. I'm your host, Grace Marinette Cackett, and today we are here with our friend, Dr. Ben Sweeney. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I know, this is so fun.
This is exciting.
Dr. Ben is actually our chiropractor, and I'm just going to give you a little free ad here because I cannot say enough good things about the business that you run on so many levels. There's been so many times, number one, I've told so many people about your clinic, but also for a few reasons. One, I love that you play worship music and it just feels like such a holy space and just like so peaceful and peace filled, which I know is because of you and just like the environment that you've created. Also, the amount of times like when we were in Florida, I texted him and I was like, I'm unwell, and literally went to his beach house with his family in Florida for him to adjust me because I've been in,
I think it was on the ottoman.
It was emergency situations. I was like, I can't move. Like 2 weeks ago, last week maybe, I threw out my back and I literally waddled in, came in 3 days in a row and was like, please help me. And I've also gotten adjusted by a lot of people, and I feel like your adjustments are just the best and hold the best.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. So if you're in Nashville and you need a chiropractor, Sweeney Health Clinics.
Health centers.
Health centers. Sorry. I've been saying clinic a lot this morning, which I think is why it's in my head.
Because it's centers.
Yeah.
But it's just one.
Yeah.
Little projection for the future.
That's what I was going to say, forward thinking.
Yeah, speak it.
Yeah. Do you want to introduce yourself and just tell a little bit about you?
Yes, and I want to give a little quick, I guess, ad for you and your family. Your family's amazing, and I've gotten to know, obviously I know your mom really well, sisters, brothers, got to see your grandparents yesterday.
Yeah.
And just the way you guys love each other, you love the Lord, you care for other people through foundations, and just all the work that you guys do. You guys really set the standard. And I know every family's messy, nobody's perfect and all
for
that.
Sure.
But my wife and I have commented on multiple occasions, like just how amazing your family is. So,
thank you.
Thank you for being you guys.
Thank you. I just told Davey this morning, one of our friends was talking about my parents on a podcast that I just listened to, and I texted Davey this morning, and I was like, and I texted those friends, and I said to Davey, I hope people talk about me and you the way people talk about my parents.
Yes.
In like 50 years. And then I texted my friend whose podcast it was, and I just said, listening to y'all say all those things is like makes me think 50 years forward.
Yes.
Like, what are people going to say about me and the way that I raised my kids and the way that we lived our life, you know? So I've actually been like reflecting on that a lot, and it's the path that was paved by my parents for sure, you know?
And that's legacy.
Yeah.
It's not the buildings you build or the money you leave behind to your kids or anything like that. It's all relational and stuff of heart and of Christ.
Yeah.
And your mom and dad are just in my book, for the limited number of people I know, they're the prime example of that. So
Thank you.
That's what I hope to aspire to too.
Same. The podcast actually that I listened to this morning is Nick Bear's podcast. And I think it's called the Nick Bear podcast, but it's like the title of the episode is The Bear Family Testimony. And it was so cool. Literally exactly what you just said. He has had this realization of like what matters in life, and the things that he was chasing was success. And he had his identity in fitness and all these things that he was building as an entrepreneur. And then Jesus has just like wrecked his life. And he's like, this is actually what matters. And it's exactly what you're saying, like the legacy you leave and the way you build the kingdom with your life. Yep. So another plug is that podcast episode is really good. If you need a podcast to listen to.
Yep. I'll put it on the list.
Yeah. Okay. So when I told you that I was doing this podcast, you were like, I have a great story to tell. And I feel like I've heard high level, just bits and pieces of your story from you over the years, but I've never even heard like the full story. So you just kind of want to share what I don't even know how many years it's been, has looked like.
Yeah. So my sobriety date is February 28th, 2018. So, which is my wife's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yes, that was the worst birthday gift I've ever given my wife. Probably another thing on the list of things that I've kind of ruined or tarnished, I guess, over the years. But we're repairing that, and it's getting so much better. It's just that's one of the miracles and grace is that story. So yeah,
And you can take this anywhere you want. Like I definitely want to talk some things wellness too. But start wherever you want.
sure. Probably to get full context, maybe go back to like the very beginning.
Yeah.
So I was born in Cleveland, Tennessee, so East Tennessee. Dad and mom at the time really young. I think my mom was 18, dad was 19, and they got married and went to work. Dad was on a dairy farm. I was with mom, and after 3 years or so, I think three and a half years, they got divorced. And biological mother, who is since passed away, she basically got involved with drugs and alcohol and weak men, and just kind of set off on a path of addiction. And my dad took me and got remarried, and to my amazing, who I consider call my mom now. So she's actually adopted me, and she's my mom.
Oh.
And then we moved from West Virginia to Pennsylvania and just kind of moved all over the place. And then when I was in middle school, not even quite middle, I guess it was the end of elementary school, I would go to work for my dad, kind of get off from school, walk to his office, and there was a guy that worked there who was kind of like his assistant and kind of his right hand man. And he started pretty innocuous. He would kind of take me to practice or pick me up from practice, and I was probably 12 at the time. And then it just sort of morphed and progressed, and looking back, he was definitely grooming at that point. And it introduced me to marijuana and to pornography and to just, it gave me condoms. I didn't even know what that was. And then it kind of escalated into sexual abuse over the course of probably 2 or 3 years,
Golly.
I guess, kind of off and on. And that was one thing I was going to take to my grave. Like, I was never going to tell anybody that story. Even when I went to treatment, I was like, that's one thing I'm going to keep that just in my pocket and never share. But ultimately, keeping that secret was what was probably killing me,
Yeah.
no doubt. So then I learned that people just aren't trustworthy, and nobody's there really to advocate for you.
Yeah.
I got to pull myself up by my bootstraps, be a man, tough it up, suck it up, press on. So performance over presence. And I love basketball, so I would dribble, and that would be a way to medicate the fear and the shame. And then, so I was going to be a college basketball player. That'll be the thing that'll fix me if I can play college basketball, which I did, and I was going to be, all American, which I wasn't, and just this whole pattern of, if I can achieve this, then I'll be okay here. If this, then this will be okay, and if this will be okay. So went to chiropractic school because I always wanted to be a doctor, but I wanted to be a real doctor, not like some kooky chiropractor, like a real doctor. And did an internship at a hospital, and as part of like the pre-med undergrad program, and I hated it. I just didn't. And doctors and nurses are amazing, angels, salt of the earth people,
Yeah.
nothing against that at all. But that was just that environment where people were really already sick and just had already kind of fallen off the cliff. It's like, how do we keep them from getting to that point?
Yeah.
So chiropractic, God chose me for chiropractic. I didn't choose it for sure, because I didn't buy any of it. I didn't believe it. I thought it was hokey. My nickname at school was Doubting Thomas. I remember one instructor told me, you just probably need to go to medical school or dental school because you just don't seem to be a good fit here.
Why Thomas?
Doubting Thomas?
Yeah. Oh, like the disciple.
The disciple,
I
Doubting
was
Thomas.
like, why Thomas? Your name is Ben.
No, everybody called me Doubting Thomas because I'd question everything. Like, how can you
Yeah.
prove that X-ray can cause that back pain and that affects their digestive system? Like, I just don't buy any of this stuff. So, but anyway, so there's a little tug in my heart that's like, you just need to stay on this path, and it deals with your body's God-given ability to heal itself, and that's one thing that was really attractive. Was like, your body doesn't have to have drugs and surgery to be healthy. Like, there's got to be something missing. So Did that and then went to practice in Green Hills where I met Ashley. She'd taken over my condo that I moved out of, but I stayed in the same complex. So she would bring over like the value pack coupons, mail stuff that had just been accidentally delivered to her house. And
Ah.
so I was like, oh, maybe something's here. So I pursued her and it was amazing. And we fell in love and got married and had McMillan. Things were amazing. And then about a year after McMillan was born, who's now 18, Ashley got really sick. So she was diagnosed with a condition called POTS, which is so we got a year after we got pregnant again, and then about a week into the pregnancy, 2 weeks, we kind of knew something was off because her body started shutting down, and then she started having like a lot of bleeding, and we'd have to take her to the hospital because she'd go into preterm labor, and they'd stop it, and then we go back home. We did that about I think 3 times, and then about toward in the second half of that pregnancy, we went in and we weren't able to stop it, so we delivered our daughter prematurely, and she didn't survive the delivery. So pretty well from there on, her body was just so wrecked that she was pretty close to bedridden for.
Did she have POTS because of what happened, or like what can you get POTS from that happening, or she had POTS before?
She had some. She had some signs of it earlier on.
Okay.
So, like in college, if they'd go out and hang out for the night, like her friends would be hungover for like a day and she'd be hungover for like a week.
Yeah.
So she knew early on she could never drink alcohol. Like that was just terrible for her body. And if she didn't get enough sleep and didn't get enough rest, it was like she had to work twice as hard to get half the results.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So she
Interesting.
kind of knew something was off, but then after the pregnancy, it just collapsed. So she was
How far along was she?
23 weeks.
Okay. Man, I'm so sorry.
23 weeks. Thank you. Um, yeah, that was rough. And then with kind of my past and my story, I never really, I never felt really sad or cried. I remember sitting at the funeral and just kind of watching everybody else be sad. Like my mom was crying and Ashley was crying, and I would just couldn't connect with me that I had lost my daughter.
Yeah.
It just wasn't real, I guess.
Yeah.
And I had been so accustomed to just not letting anybody attach to me. Like I couldn't attach to anyone and didn't want anybody to attach because mom left.
Yeah.
You know, sexual abuse happened. Like
Yeah.
this. My story was if you knew me, you would leave me. And if you didn't leave me, you were going to hurt me.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of like the narrative. I didn't know how to say those words, but I knew that like I had to keep everybody at arm's distance
Yeah.
because if you got too close, you might actually hurt me. So I know what that feels like, but I don't want to be abandoned
Yeah.
because I know what that feels like. So how do I keep everybody from not hurting me but not leaving me?
Yeah.
So then people just become objects. And I guess at that time my daughter was just an object.
Do you feel like you had a secure attachment to your dad growing up? And your stepmom?
Yes, ish. Kind of looking back, and I've done a little bit of reading with like child psychology and abandonment and attachment issues, and
Yeah.
like when you kind of lose one of your primary caregivers, and she didn't die right away, but
Yeah.
she was basically out of the picture. A part of you just sort of shuts down that healthy attachment mechanism.
Yeah.
So yes, I did. Of course, my dad was amazing. Stepmom was amazing. But I think a part of me wasn't able to really attach to them.
Yeah.
And then I remember my dad, we were in the car. I was probably 14 at the time, 13, 14. And we were driving to go somewhere. And I was trying to tell him something, just like something benign, just basic. And I started crying. And I couldn't stop crying. And I was just like, just couldn't get the words out. I was just snot crying. And he was like, son, tell me what's going on with you? Like, tell me what's going on. And I was like, I just could not get the words out.
Yeah.
And he said, do you think you might be gay? And I was like, no, no. And he wasn't trying to harm me with that question. He was trying to reach toward my heart, but he didn't really know, he didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
But I remember I was like, okay, I got it. Like, I know the rules. You don't ever show that emotion. You don't ever let anybody get close to here because I'm certainly not going to be called gay. And then a part of me wondered because that abuse had happened. I was like, well, am I? No, I'm definitely not. So then I was never able to really attach to any girlfriends either.
Yeah.
Ashley was the first one that I ever felt like I was really like attached to.
Yeah.
Like this is the first woman because I had never been dumped. And not because I'm some stud, nothing like that. It's because the minute I got the sense that she was sort of pulling away, I would break it off. I'm done. Like, I'm going to hurt you before you get the chance to hurt me. So it was just a real sick way of viewing like relationships.
Yeah.
Like
That
you
makes
never
sense.
do 50-50. You always do 60-40. Like you
Yeah.
always keep a part of that behind. Make them chase you. That kind of gross type stuff. So, yeah, so then Ashley was essentially bedridden for the most part for probably a little bit over 2 years where, she didn't really drive her car. We didn't go to movies or dinner or traveled very little. Like she really just struggled with her health.
Yeah.
And we took her to Vanderbilt, and of course they were considered the experts in that condition, and they put her on a medication that didn't work, and then we got another one that made things worse, and then we went back a third time, and then they put her on an antidepressant, like I think it was Zoloft, and she got down to 98 pounds
Wow.
at 5'8.5".
Wow.
I'm at work all day helping people, and she's at home dying, essentially. So I just remember that period of time being stressful, and I felt shame as a husband, as a provider. I just couldn't, and then McMillan is, 2 or 3 at the time. I'm trying to figure out how to deal with her. And then a guy came into my office one time, and he had like 5 failed back surgeries. He had a ton of pain pills he's getting every month. And he would keep 2 of them before his next monthly appointment. So he wouldn't even take them. He would just take 2 before the night of so that he would pass his drug test. It would be in his system. And then he would sell all the rest of them. So he asked me, he said, do you want one of these pills? And I was like, no, I don't do pills. And then he asked me again and again, like the third time. I was like, sure, I'll take one. And I remember I put it in my desk. And then one night, for some reason, I just took that pill and I bit it in half. And I remember like 20 minutes later, it was like a pain pill of some sort. And I remember 20 minutes later, I felt like, it was like the first time in years, probably decades, that I could like breathe.
Yeah.
Because I was always real anxious. Like my hands would sweat, my leg, like if I was sitting in a chair, my leg would go crazy and bite my fingernails and all that stuff. So I was never ever really comfortable in my own skin, but I knew like when I took that pill, I was like, "Boy, this feels good."
Yeah.
And I slept good that night, and the stress was gone, and I was just numb.
Yeah.
And it felt amazing.
Yeah. Just hearing you tell your story feels so like I feel so heavy listening. And when you said you took that, it was like I can imagine what it felt like, all the weight of all those things for your whole life coming off of you for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a false, because opioids particularly give you like a sense of connection. It's like a relational sense, the same chemicals that get released when you're holding a baby or you're hugging your wife or
Oxytocin?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
the same basic chemical pathways give you that sense of like God's like hugging you.
Yeah.
And I was not an idiot. Like I knew like if that made me feel that good, it's not good.
Yeah.
So I didn't do anything for a while. A few months went by. And then I started kind of taking them at night. Like I wouldn't take them during the day. Like I'm only going to take it at night. And then I'm not going to take it at work because I'm not going to do it while I'm working. And then I'll take it 20 minutes before the shift ends, because then it'll kick in when I'm driving home, and then you just I start justifying and rationalizing,
Yeah.
and then it just escalated to a point to where, I mean, I was having to take like 13 or 15 just to feel normal.
Wow.
Not even, because I was never like, I'm sure I did it for some sort of sense of high, but I was never like sloppy or drooling on myself or, nodding off or anything like that. I did it because it kind of gave me like a sense of energy, and like,
Yeah.
I feel like normal.
Yeah.
Like that's what I thought normal felt like. And then it just got to a point to where I just had to keep doing it in order to just function,
Yeah.
essentially. And then hiding money and cash and checks from insurance companies and keeping the cash and just moving. It's like a big shell game that, I had to sort of just keep the plates spinning and keep hiding it from Ashley and hiding it from people in the office. And I remember one time when I was in the office, and this happened multiple times, where a lady, this one particular, I remember, she came up and she had tears in her eyes and she was so grateful. She was like, "You're the best. I feel so much better. You're awesome. You're amazing." And had a smile on my face, but I had contempt for her. I was like, "Screw you," with a smile. And I didn't say this, but I was saying it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know me.
Mm.
Like, I don't know me. And the version of me that I do know, I can't stand that guy.
Mm.
So, like, how dare you remind me of who I don't like? See you next week.
Right. Wow.
Because here I am, like, teaching people how to live a healthy, drug free lifestyle and avoid pharmaceuticals. And then I'm, patient zero
Mm.
that's taking them every day. So it's just hypocrisy. It's just really dark.
Yeah.
It's probably the best way that people say, "Were you ever suicidal?" And I was like, I'm way too selfish. I'm probably way too narcissistic or was at the time, to ever commit suicide. But I see where it could get to that point for some people,
Yeah.
because I just did not see a way out. And I knew that I couldn't ask for help, because if I came clean, then I was going to lose my license.
Mm.
If you lose your license, then I can't provide for my family, and like just the whole
Why
house
would
of
you
cards.
lose your license because of that?
Well, you don't. That was just the story I told myself.
Oh.
Yeah, you can ask for help, and if anybody's watching this that is a professional of some sort, there's foundations, there's associations within every state where doctors can go get help, and they don't really get penalized. You just have to like follow the rules and
Get back on track.
yeah, get back on track.
Yeah.
So, um, finally, Ashley knew something was up because it was just getting too obvious, and she just demanded. She called a place in Murfreesboro called the Centers for Professional Excellence, where they don't even exist anymore, which is so sad. Um, but they just deal with professionals: doctors, lawyers, businessmen, pastors. And she sent me for a 3-day evaluation. And I said, "Oh, I'll agree to that." And then 94 days later, I graduated. If we can call it that, I guess. But it was the hardest, no, the hardest work I've ever done ever.
Mm.
Because it was not like work, it was like work.
Yeah.
And I had
On
to,
your heart.
yes,
If people aren't watching.
right,
Yeah.
exactly right. And it was, yeah, it was just having to talk about things I never thought I would talk about and deal with the trauma and family issues, because the drugs weren't the problem.
Yeah.
They were the solution to the problem.
Yeah.
They were the false cure for the issues that I had. I just couldn't deal with emotions.
Mm.
And that's the uniqueness about that program, which I think is so special. It's all about your emotions and your inability to name them and deal with them.
Yeah.
And then they give you this sheet the whole program is based around the 8 core emotions, which plug for the book, Voice of the Heart by Dr. Chip Dodd. He's the one that actually ran that treatment center, and he works with he works with Christ Press.
His son was in our wedding. He's one of Davey's best friends from college. They live together.
Really?
Isn't that funny?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So you know that family?
Yeah. Tennyson is his son.
Yes.
Yeah.
He talks about him all the time.
Really? Yeah.
Great baseball player.
He was.
Did he play with Davey?
At Lipscomb.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everything's getting
a very
connected.
wise man.
Yes. And the only person in my life to that point that had ever like sat with me nose to nose, literally nose to nose, and told me the truth. And he said, there's so many stories I could tell you about this. So CPE's campus is the one house for the professionals, and then you've got the like 4 or 5 other houses for like traditional 28-day rehab. So kind of like what normal people think about with rehab is you go in for a month, insurance pays for it, they get out, they use again, they go back into rehab. It's just a big cycle.
Okay.
It's got less than a 10% success rate.
Wow.
Well, CHIP's program has like a 90% success rate. So it's completely different. So it's longer, it's more in depth, and it's very small group. I think we had 7 guys in the house. And then I would meet with him, one-on-one every day, I think, for 2 hours. And then you'd have another 6 or 8 hours of just process groups and timeline, and you got to go through your whole story and all the trauma stuff. And it was very, very intense. So we're standing at the window one day, and he was looking out the window, and he said, "Ben, come here for a second." And the other like rehab guys, like the 28-day guys, were kind of out in the thing like playing basketball. And he said, "Come here, look at those guys." And they've got like wife beaters and tattoos and smoking cigarettes. He goes, "Come here." He goes, "Do you think you're better than them?" And I was like, "No, Chip, no, I don't." He goes, "Come on, be honest. Like, you think you're better than them, right? Like, look at them. You're better than them." And I was like, "Well, maybe a little bit." And he goes, "You're worse. You're 1,000 times worse. You're infinitesimally worse than they are."
Like,
because you've got a job and a career and a family, and you're a doctor, and you've got kids, and you're about to lose every bit of it.
wow.
And then he walked away. And then there was another time where he said, the whole class was there, all 8 of us or 7 or whatever. And he said, "Ben, I want you to stand up. I'm going to work you like a puppet." He said, "I'm going to own you right now." So he made me stand up. And then he gets in my face, and he's literally touching the tip of my nose with his nose. And he's about 6'6". He's like taller than me. Yeah. And he just kept saying, "What? Like what?" And of course, I got all tough. I like bucked up and stood there all big and tough. And he's like, "What?" And then he started backing away. And he's like, "Okay." And he backed away and walked out the door. And I said, "Chip, man, come on back in." And he kicked in the door. He's like, "See, I told you, I got you. I worked you like a puppet. Because when I got in your face, you felt fear. And instead of communicating that you had fear and you needed me to step back, you got all big and tough and suppressed your emotions and got all ragey. And then when I left and ran out the door, your abandonment issues kicked in and you tried to bring me right back due to all your codependency."
Wow.
And I was like, oh.
Wow.
That's how I do every relationship.
Wow.
He goes, "Go ahead and sit down." Yeah, so, and I probably have a dozen other stories like that to just...
That'll put a mirror in front of your face real quick.
Yeah. And
That's
no one had ever
crazy.
done that before.
Yeah.
Because I'd been able to sort of finagle and... Like, I knew who I had to be when I was around certain groups. I was a chameleon. When we moved from Pennsylvania to Tennessee, right before my senior year of high school, I moved from a tiny little Catholic school in Pennsylvania to the largest public school in the state of Tennessee at the time, right before my senior year. And I picked up a Southern accent in a day. I was like, I know exactly, with this group, I need to be quiet. With this group, I need to fight because they fight. And in this group, I need to be athletic. And so I was always changing me to be okay with everybody else.
Yeah. Which a lot of young people can relate to.
Yes. I think it's, especially now with Facebook and social media, and
Yeah.
you got to pretend you got it all put together and you got it
Uh-huh.
all figured out and you're balling or whatever they use the word for now. But I sound like such a dad. But yeah, so
So you did the program.
did the program, and then it was like a whole new world had sort of opened up because I wasn't carrying all that fear and shame. Because when I looked at that list of those 8 feelings, it's like fear, sadness, anger, hurt, lonely, shame, guilt, and glad. I couldn't see fear and shame. I couldn't even see the words on the page. And the counselor said, "Of course you can, because you're like a smoker. Like you're so covered with it, you can't even smell it."
Mm.
So my list only has 6. It doesn't have that full 8. But it's the first time where I felt like comfortable in my own skin. And you know how my office is set up, where we have like those 6-foot walls, kind of like T-bars.
Uh-huh.
People kind of sit out in the front. I would always hide behind those. Like I would never like poke my head around that corner ever. I would literally hide and duck and go from room to room to room. And when I got out of treatment, I remember walking around that corner and there's probably 20 people sitting out there. And I was like, "Oh, hi, hey, how are you? Hey." And I was like, "Wait, that's weird."
Yeah.
So it was God's ability to remove that fear and shame. And it still is there. I'm not going to say it's 100% gone entirely, but I'm okay just being myself for the first time ever,
Yeah.
which is a miracle.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So what that was in 2018, you said?
Mm-hmm. So it'll be 8 years in February.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And does your family, like, y'all talk about your journey openly?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
That's so healthy.
I remember when, because McMillan was 11 when I went to treatment. And I had to come home in the middle of treatment to like pick up some clothes because Ashley, rightfully so, was so mad at me. I had the same 3 days worth of clothes for the first 6 weeks. So I kept wearing the same thing over and over. And then I went home to get some clothes, and McMillan was not supposed to be home, but she saw me from the neighbor's yard and came running over like, "Daddy, daddy, daddy." Hadn't seen her in like 6 weeks.
Wow.
And I was like, "Honey, I got to go," because I literally had to pick up my clothes and get out of there. And she's like holding my leg, like grabbing, like, "Please don't go," and
Oh.
crying and bawling. And it was horrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, then when I got out of treatment, I remember I told her, I said, "Any questions you have, please ask me. Like, is there anything that you can think of that you have questions about?" And she's like, "Is that why you hid all the good cereal really high in the cabinets?" And I was like, "No, I just wanted the Lucky Charms for me." Like, so, but I'm so glad you're asking me about that
Oh.
stuff, because her little brain's like kind of wondering, like, what was that? What was that? Well,
Yeah.
she's kind of replaying the tape of all the times when I was just sick, stuck in bed. And because it would be like 2 or 3 Saturdays a month that I would have to like detox because I didn't want to keep taking them. So I would detox on like a Friday. I'd work the Friday shift, detox Saturday and Sunday, and then go back to work on Monday.
Mm.
And Ashley, she would call it 6 Saturdays. It's like every Saturday. She had it on her calendar, and she'd mark it. She's like, 3 this month, 2 this month, 1 this month, 3 this month, 1 this. Like she showed me over the course of like a year or two, and I was basically sick every Saturday.
Wow.
And then she had Googled something called leisure sickness. It's like when, particularly men, when we work so hard and we get a day off, our bodies just collapse and we get sick. And I was like, "Yep, that's what I got. Leisure
Mm.
sickness right there." So there's another lie. I rode that like a pony for a while. But yeah, so we still talk very openly about it. I've talked to her about like when she goes to college, like, you have to be very cautious
Yeah.
A, because now fentanyl is in the
Hmm.
game.
Yeah.
And if I had stayed on that same path, there's 0% chance I'd be alive
Yeah.
because
Because
I
of
wasn't
fentanyl.
getting it from a pharmacy.
Yeah.
And right when I went to treatment is when fentanyl just kind of exploded onto the scene.
Wow.
And there was a
Goodness.
car in Murfreesboro that was pulled over, and they had like 2,000 pills of the ones that I used to get from the street, exactly the same, but they were cut with fentanyl.
Wow.
And one of those could have been enough to kill me for
Yeah.
sure.
I know quite a few people who have died from fentanyl. Um, wow. Well, that's really great that y'all talk about it openly. Um, Also, I just want to say, like, it's crazy hearing your story in depth because you really are such a different person.
Mm.
Um, and I just feel it's so like hearing background. Your story is just such a testament to like when you see someone who ends up in a position, fill in the blank of whatever it is, using drugs, doing whatever it may be. It's not excusing it, but when you hear your upbringing, it's like, of course, like,
Mm.
yeah, you made the decision to try it, but I just think your story is such a great example of like no one who hears your story, who at least who walks with Jesus and has compassion and grace for people, would judge you. Like I just have so much compassion and grace for you hearing your upbringing and being like, yeah, just hearing your story and thinking about taking a pain pill, I'm like, I can only imagine the
Mm.
relief it gave you and like that's what you longed for. And I hate that it spiraled into what it did, but I also am so grateful that you're sharing because it's like, I think that's what the enemy wants is for us to look back on the seasons of our life that we're not perfect or where we really went astray and we weren't walking with Jesus and we did things that made us feel shame.
Mm.
And he loves that. And he's like,
Mm.
that's his playground. And it's like, God actually lets us go through those things so that we can sit in situations like this and speak to other people because you have no idea who is going to be on the other side of
Mm.
their iPhone or Android listening to this or watching it on YouTube that relates to one of a million things in your story, whether
Mm.
it's using or sexual abuse or hiding things from their spouse. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like there's so many aspects of your story that God has redeemed and is redeeming. And like this is the purpose of it, you know?
Mm.
So I just want to say that I'm really proud of you for sharing. And I know that you being honest and being vulnerable will impact a lot of people.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and it's such a paradox because, and I can only speak as being a man. I mean, you're told that you never show weakness.
Yeah.
Like if you're hurt, quit being a baby. If you're sad, suck it up. If you're angry, then something's wrong with you. You got something bad about you. But all those emotions that I didn't know how to deal with, those are basically just tools. Like they're if you feel sad, it's because you probably lost something. And now if we don't know what to do with our sadness and we can't process it and surrender it, then we'll move towards self-pity, which
Yeah.
is you feel my sadness for me.
Mm.
But then the gift of sadness is acceptance. So the beautiful thing about having sort of that framework of emotions, and your kids do emotions perfectly
Mm.
because they don't have any other language.
Yeah.
I mean, Crew does now because he's getting older, but when they're 0, 1, and 2, they don't have verbal capacity. They don't have a lot of
Self-regulation.
intellect and self-regulation. They can't articulate what's going on inside their brain.
Yeah.
All they have are emotions. They cry when they're sad. They howl when they're hurt. They reach out when they're lonely.
Yeah.
Like they do those feelings like remarkably. But
Wow.
then as we grow up, we're taught that those things are bad and those things are painful, and you need to avoid that and shut that down and be a man and toughen up
Yeah.
and start using your brain instead of your heart.
Yeah.
So use your brain to hide what's happening inside your heart versus using your brain to express what's happening in your heart.
Yeah.
I remember when Macmillan was 3, we were at the park playing, and she would go up to kids and she'd go, "Do you want to play with me?" She kind of had a lisp. "Do you want to play with me?" And the kid would go, "Nope." And she'd go the next, "Do you want to play with me?" "Nope." "Do you want to?" And she's going around the horn. I was like, "Honey, come here. Like, we got to talk about this. Like,
Yeah.
you need to stop doing that because, like, you're going to get hurt." And I remember she looked at me, and I'll never forget the look she gave me. It was like, "Okay, like, you're my dad, so I'm going to listen to what you tell me to do, but that's how God made me.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to reach out in connection because I'm supposed to be vulnerable and needy and want to seek relationship, but because you're my dad and I need you and I can't live without you because I can't get food, water, and shelter,
Right.
I'm going to change me to be okay with you. And I harmed her that day because of my stuff. Because my inability to deal with my own emotions around what was happening with her, I made her change her to be okay with me. And there's just, thank God for second chances, right?
But that'll speak to every parent, because I feel that Crew does that with everybody who passes on the street.
Yes.
Hey!
Yeah.
And then these kids will look at him and just keep going. And also, you kind of want to punch the kids. You're
Yeah,
like, okay,
right.
he's 3. Can you not be a little nicer?
Right.
But it's the same thing. I've definitely felt that, that instinct to be like, hey,
Yeah,
like,
rescue them.
yeah. And you want to protect them, but it's also not
Sure.
healthy. Me and Davey have talked about that too, because he was definitely raised in like a tough household, if you will. Like, be tough, 4 boys, 1 girl. And I remember when we went to counseling for the first time, I told you this the other day briefly, but we tried to do premarital counseling. We went to one counselor and it was a bust. It was just not a good fit. I was living in Knoxville, finishing up school. Davey was in Nashville. We went to this counselor and I was like, oh my gosh, Davey's never going to go back to counseling. But honestly, it was because like Davey was describing his childhood and just like the way that he was like, well, you're just a man, you be tough, you don't show emotion, you don't cry. I didn't grow up in an emotional household, and everything that he said, the counselor would just like nod and say, yeah, that's going to cause issues. And they would like take notes and then move to the next topic. So by the time we got to the end of the session,
not even unpack any of it?
no unpacking. It was like, which granted, it wasn't intake session, but his bedside manner, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, we both walked out and we felt like we had both gotten hit by a truck. Davey was like, there was no reconciliation of anything. And in hindsight, probably some of the things that he said, that's going to cause issues, are the things we fought about our first year of marriage. You know what I mean?
Right.
Before we got with a good counselor. But, yeah, it's amazing how when you can go and learn to identify your feelings and like how to cope with them and reframe how you view emotions if you were raised to view them in an unhealthy way. It changes everything in your life.
And one thing Chip says too is the health of your household is predicated on the bandwidth of emotions within that household. Like if you're allowed to bring your emotions out, that doesn't mean you rip pictures off the wall and you destroy the house and but if you're allowed to express what you're feeling inside in a safe environment with your caregivers, parents, then that dictates how healthy your family is likely to be.
Wow, that's so good.
Yeah.
And when you're in the thick of raising little kids, that's a great thing to keep in mind for the long term.
Bring it. I can't fix it for you.
Yeah.
But I'm with you in it.
Yeah.
It's Emmanuel. It's God with us. It's not God rescues us from everything.
Yeah.
But he's with us in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the ultimate role as a parent is to protect your kids from harm, but allow them to be hurt.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to hurt my kids.
Yeah.
Like, zero doubt. I'm going to hurt my children. I'm going to take away their phone. I'm going to ground them. I'm going to probably raise my voice when I don't need to. Like I'm going to hurt my kids, but I'm not going to harm them. That's a big, big difference.
Yeah, that's good.
But we kind of confuse the two or conflate the two that hurt is harm. So we don't want to hurt our kids and we want to be their best friend and we don't want to discipline. But that in and of itself is harming them.
Right.
So we forsake hurting them and then we substitute harm for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. Okay, something else I want to talk about is especially following what that journey with opioids was like, is now you really like, I guess you were kind of doing this before and you were saying you felt hypocritical, but so much of your business is teaching people how to live holistically and healthy and like functional health. Now I can imagine that transition back to work, feeling like you were being true to practicing what you preached. Probably was healing too, right?
Yes. And it's given me a lot more grace for people too, is because I used to be so gross. because I was Dr. Sweeney and I've got all the answers. And if you don't listen to what I'm telling you, and your doctor's crazy if he told you this, and you're an idiot if you're taking cholesterol drugs. And I mean, I would just straight up shame. I remember I told a lady one time, well, enjoy dying, because she wouldn't listen to the Almighty's advice. And I look back and I need to remember who that is so I can make an amends with her. But it was just such a disgusting, to the point to where Ashley would say, I remember she told me one time, she said, I hate Dr. Sweeney.
Oh.
She said, I can't stand that guy. Like, whoever that guy is, I don't like him. And I remember, like, well, who are you to, like, because I had feelings about that. And who is she to tell me this is what provides a house over here, like that kind of stuff. But she was dead on, like dead on, because I was a caricature, essentially.
Do you
And I
feel
felt I
like
had to be God because I didn't have God in my life.
that is exactly what I was about to ask? Do you feel like when you got treatment and healed from a lifetime of all the things that you addressed in treatment and in counseling, do you feel like that was the big shift for your relationship with God too?
Oh, 1,000%.
Because when you were saying, like, it's so hard for me to, when you're like, oh, I was so gross, I'm like, that's so hard for me to imagine because I know you now.
Yeah.
But would you say that that was like the pivot for you here in the physical realm and all the things that you've dealt with, but also like spiritually between you and Jesus, that was when things shifted? Because now anyone who meets you, like, literally the first thing I said on this podcast was, your space that you work in is so spirit filled and it's so peaceful, and you created that. Like, I mean, God created it through you,
Sure.
but you've made decisions in your business that have made it what it is because of Jesus. So to hear the transition, like, I'm literally hearing you talk about the old you and the new you, and you feel like that transition happened when you were away.
Yeah, 1,000%. Yeah, because I had to be humbled.
Yeah.
I had to be robbed of all of my self-will and just made to realize that my way is just not going to work. Like, my job of being God, I'm a pretty crappy God. And I've
Aren't we
tried
all?
and I've done my best, but it is a failure every time.
Yeah.
Because I cannot control people, places, or things.
Yeah.
And when you're a man and you're a doctor, and especially when you're an addict, you think you have to control outcomes. And it kind of breeds this sort of narcissistic view that you have the power to change people. And I don't. Like, I can
Yeah.
make recommendations and I can make suggestions and give ideas, but ultimately people are just going to do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And I can be sad if they don't, if they still walk off the cliff and don't improve their health, but ultimately that's God's job. That's not my job.
Yep.
And I was raised in church, went to church all my life, and was raised Baptist, went to a Catholic middle school and high school, went to a Pentecostal college, and now my kids are at the Presbyterian school.
Where'd you go to college?
Lee.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Went to Lee. And then, but I was even then,
You
I
didn't
was,
even mention Benton.
oh yeah,
We haven't even talked about him yet.
that's right.
Granted, that was pretty
Part
recent.
part of the timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after got out of treatment, I guess right at the start of COVID, we got pregnant with, so he'll be a quarantine
Yeah.
here in about 8 years. He'll be one of those kids. And
COVID baby.
yeah, COVID baby for sure. And yeah, now we have him, and he's 4.5, and that's a miracle. That's another miracle. It's like, he wouldn't exist. I would be dead. I would be divorced. I would certainly not have a license, and I wouldn't have a relationship with my daughter, which is amazing, and I wouldn't have a son had God not had used Ashley to rescue me from that bondage,
Yeah.
which is really what that was.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, because he's only a year older than Crew.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember, yeah. Also, we've definitely hopped on the holistic train
You have.
in most aspects. And
Welcome to the club.
I know, and even like our counselor through so much of it. Literally, Davey was calling you in the hospital with Haven and was like, should we do this? What about this?
Yeah, that's right.
Which is awesome. And it's been really cool for us to learn about. And you're just such a great resource for people.
Thank you.
Which now I'm laughing because I was talking to Davey and he was like, y'all should talk about like cancer. And he was talking about all these things because I know you have that cancer workshop tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're almost at time, but
That's so boring. No, I'm kidding.
no, I mean, every time I come into your clinic, like just reading all the things on the whiteboard, I take in so much just from the things that y'all like nonchalantly, the seminars that you have on the screen or the things you have on your whiteboards.
Yeah.
And like, there's a lot of times that I'll either ask a question or like look something up when I leave or,
Yeah, we try to create a place because people spend 99% of their day, social media, TV, news, radio, like they're getting bombarded with pharmaceutical messaging and just messaging that they're sick and they're broken and God didn't design them with a body that's designed to heal itself. They need all this help and intervention and pharmaceutical care. And we just, for the 20 minutes you might be in that, in my office as a captured audience, we want to give you some hope about nutrition and a little bit about the right supplements and exercise. And
yeah.
because we do have to take ownership. Like, our bodies can heal, but we've got to put the work in.
Yeah. I recently heard that America is one of the only countries that allows ads for
That's
pharmaceuticals.
Correct. We are the only country. New Zealand allows it very restrictively, but the U.S. is the only country on planet Earth that allows drug ads on TV. And if you watch the evening news tonight, I want you to get a pad and pencil and count how many drug ads are aired during the evening news segments. It's 72% of the commercials
Wow.
are for drugs. Do you know why they run the drug ads during the news segments?
Because you're scared and then it's medicating your fear.
Kinda.
I don't
People
know.
say, well, it's older people and they're watching the news, so they want to give their drugs more to older people. That's a better market. That's not the reason. Like, the reason is if they're the main advertiser for ABC and NBC and CBS News, what's the likelihood that the news is going to run a negative story about the drug company? So they can control the messaging by being the primary advertiser.
Wow.
So they do it just for messaging.
Yeah.
Just to control the narrative.
Yeah.
Essentially.
If people are not on the holistic train, I definitely operate under the belief, and I know you do too, like being sick is a business.
Yes.
Sick people is a business and sick people make money. And if you look, we have a friend who lives in England and he loves America, but he really wants to move here. But he literally brought us a bag of Doritos and a bunch of things that are the exact same company is making this food and they're distributing it to America and they're distributing it to England. And if you compare the ingredient lists, I've literally compared the labels in my own pantry.
Yep.
And their ingredients are so much cleaner. Their ingredient list is like 1/10 of the length of ours. And when you start digging, some people probably are listening to this and they have never looked into this a day in their life, especially if you're not a parent. Like, this was so over my head until I became a parent and I started reading about things and I'm like, why? It's like crystal clear that all of these companies in food and pharma are just profiting on us being sick and unhealthy.
It's evil.
Yes.
That's the only, if you want to narrow it down, because there's no money in healthy people.
Yep.
And there's no money in dead people.
Yeah.
So where's the money? Sick people who need medications and need surgeries and need interventions and see themselves as a victim that are disempowered and uninformed.
Yep.
So the system, it's all about incentives. They profit when people stay sick.
Yeah.
And it's not the doctors and the nurses and the people on the front lines. It's the C-suite of the hospital administration.
Yeah.
It's the boardroom at Pfizer. It's
Right.
the big food, big pharma. Like, it's the way they're structured financially.
Yeah. And you know what? I was just telling a friend, a mom friend, we were at our neighborhood playground last night. And I was telling her, like, Davey is so all over all of this. Like, on how seed oils cause inflammation, which is like peanut oil and sunflower oil and canola oil. Yeah. Which is in literally everything. And I was telling her, I love that he's very passionate about it. But also sometimes I'm like, there's nothing that doesn't have it in it that are, you know what I mean?
Just eat celery.
Yeah, which Crew Hackett is not touching a piece of celery with a 10-foot pole. And so I'm like, I know that we need to weed these things out, but it's really hard when you become a parent and you want to make better choices, but the options are so limited. It's so frustrating. Everything has red dye, yellow dye, blue dye, which you look into and it's linked to all like fertility and cancer and you're like, why? I don't need my food to be blue. I don't
Sure.
need my kid's sucker to be blue, especially when there's all these natural dyes that, like carrot or beet or whatever that you can use, and people are willingly opting for the terrible version of it. It really gets me fired up.
We have to pay more money to get fruits with less chemicals.
Right. That's not the default.
No, that's right.
Also, I really appreciated, this was one thing that we talked about, which I'm not going to get into the whole vaccine conversation because that's a whole
It's another
podcast.
podcast.
But I was just talking to we did the vitamin K. We ended up doing the vitamin K for
We did
Haven. And if you are pregnant, this is just something good to know that if you want to do the vitamin K shot, which is like vitamin K, but it helps your blood clot, in the event of an emergency or whatever, because I guess baby's blood doesn't clot. They don't have enough vitamin
Yeah,
K
the
on their
blood-brain
own.
barrier is not formed. And
Yeah. If you're pregnant, this is just good to know that you have to ask for a preservative-free version of vitamin K if you want basically like a clean version of the shot. And I was talking to our pediatrician in the hospital, which I really appreciated this. And she was like, why we don't just offer the clean version to everyone, why people have to know to ask us for it, for us to do it.
because they save money.
Right.
They do the other one out of a multi-dose vial. So they just pull, shoot. Versus yours, they had to get specially packaged as a single dose.
Has to be refrigerated.
And they can build the same code for the multi-dose that they can serve 100 kids with versus the one that they have to give for you.
Yeah.
So it's a cost savings.
Right. That's why they do it. But it's maddening when you get into it. Anyways, you've been such a great resource for us on that.
Oh, thank you.
On all
Anything
things
you need,
holistic.
you let me know. If I don't know, I'll tell
Oh,
you.
don't you worry. We will. Okay, I told you I was going to ask this question and we'll end on this one.
Sure.
What is your favorite miracle story in the Bible?
Oh, from the Bible. I'd have to say it was Saul's road to Damascus story
Okay.
when Saul became Paul. Very similar to my story. He was on a literal path of destruction. He was headed to Damascus to persecute the Christians. God blinded him, and then he was blind for 3 days. And God used Ananias to heal him and to restore his vision. And then he was converted, name changed, and he was on a new purpose and mission. And I feel like in a lot of ways, I was on a path of destruction, no doubt, and definitely blinded. And by the grace of God, using other men in my life that were able to touch me and redirect me and confront me, I feel like I've got a new purpose. So
Okay.
I'm not going to live up to Paul's. Those are big shoes to fill.
You never know.
But, at least I kind of know for the first time in my life I have a vision and a direction and feel like I'm doing things, in a better way.
Yeah.
So,
You know what's cool to think about is, well, first off, I love that answer. And I love that it's something that you see yourself in. Also, a friend of mine told me this, but we live in like obviously the digital age where in the click of a button you can say whatever you want to hundreds of people, thousands of people. And we were just talking about how, or she was talking about how, like you picture the disciples and people like Paul who walked and walked and walked for days to go share the good news with with a small community of people. And then they would walk again for days and days to share with other people. And if they could see what we have access to now, they would be like, you can push one button and tell 1,000 people about Jesus.
and you're not using it.
And you're not using it. But when you say, I mean, I have no idea how to quantify what Paul's impact was for the kingdom. I know it was really great. But I'm like, we are living in a day and age where even just through this podcast, I'm like, we'll reach thousands of people and you will reach thousands of people through your story and your obedience. And so don't sell
Well, and
yourself
that's why
short.
this platform and your podcast is so important, because it integrates story with Christ, and I feel like there's a revival happening.
Me too.
I'm sure you can feel that too, and I'm just I'm terrified for my kids and what they're going to face, but I'm also very excited that this is becoming more mainstream and it's available. So
Yeah.
we just have to use it.
And God picked us. I think about that all the time, but it's like God picked us for this exact time.
Mm.
And I have been thinking a lot about like when I had boys, I really had to. I feel like I'm raising a different species, raising boys.
They are. I've got one of each. They're different.
Yeah. But like, especially, they're not my gender. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, but all they want to do is talk about like body parts. And I'm like, bodily functions and
Uh-huh.
farting. And I'm like,
That's the only material you have at age 3. That's all you got.
but I maybe a friend said this to me or something, but I'm like, God chose me to raise men in this generation, and now he's entrusted me with a little girl to raise a woman in the next generation. And it's like, it is scary, but God chose us for this. And he gave us these babies who are miracles.
It's great perspective.
Yeah. Like we were made for such a time as this.
Such a time as this.
Anyways, this was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. I
Thank
know
you.
it's going to bless a lot of people.
I hope.
It was awesome.
Thanks.
Till next time.